Hey everyone, DFA here, welcome back to the channel, and today we are taking a look at the brand new tier 8 French premium battleship, le Picardie. And we're going to take a look at the eye because it looks a bit like a tier 8 Lyon, and to some extent it is, but I think it is actually much closer to a tier 8 Normandy than it is to a tier 8 Lyon. Let's find out why. So, tier 8 Normandy, tier 8 Lyon, or a new powerhouse at tier 8 for the French? Let's find out. So immediately we notice the Picardie, 200 meters, small target, not a lot of hit points, and a very poor survivability. 2 minutes 33 seconds, only Champagne, and I think Constellation are doing worse at the tier. This ship does not like being hit. The max speed, it's actually only 28 knots, and where this was actually pretty good at tier 6, it is nothing special at tier 8. You have to be really careful with that thing. You do get the engine accelerator, but that will barely bring him on par with Flandre or Hawk, to be honest. And the rest of maneuverability stats are actually pretty average as well. In terms of guns, so you're getting 16 305mm guns, a bit like the Lyon. Reload time 19 seconds, pretty good. The range is actually pretty good at almost 14 kilometers. And the main difference between this and the Lyon, it's the accuracy. The Lyon is, I think, if I remember Lyon, something like 45%. This one is close to 60%. That is very good for a ship with 16 guns. So the HE DPM is actually quite alright. The fire chance is actually pretty high at 5, something you might want to incorporate into your gameplay. And unfortunately, the AP damage of 305mm guns, less than 500 per shell. That is by far the worst at the tier, and we get to actually a DPM that's pretty decent, almost 15,000. Yeah, but if that's like the Hawk, yeah, but this Hawk does not get the rapid reload 2 charges that the Picardie has. So that thing has a pretty high damage potential, provided you pick the right targets, and eventually we noticed the turret traverse at 7 degrees, also a major improvement, pretty good. So in terms of equipment, you favor the dispersion, acceleration, and the traverse, because this will be played like a battle cruiser, like the Normandy secondaries. 12-13 centimeter guns, pretty decent reload time, pretty decent DPM. Unfortunately, French accuracy, so you really have to lead a lot and get closer to your targets. Auto secondaries, non-torpedoes, non-dive bombers, of course, none. And then the AA, finally, there is nothing to see here. It's pretty average on the lower end of ships at tier 8, so this ship is a target for CVs. So what do we have in front of us? A CV, ouch, Atlantico, Vladivostok, Scharnhorst. Okay, Scharnhorst, we can take him on. The others, we have to be really careful. And the cruiser, that's food for us. And the 2DDs, it's okay. It's overall, it's fairly representative matchmaking what you will get with that thing at the tier 8. And immediately we notice that I'm super careful with it. So keep in mind, low survivability, limited AA, you have to watch first where the CV is going, what it is doing, before you actually decide on engaging. So I'm not rushing into a cap, because if I come across something there, I'm not going to be able to survive. I'm waiting, and I'm trying to see what the situation will allow me to do. So immediately the Scharnhorst is going, it's being very aggressive, way too aggressive, and is in a crossfire. So this is main difference for me between that ship and the Lyon. Just look at how many shells we were able to put on target. Yes, I know it's pretty close, but the Lyon, you really have to be at point blank range to be scoring that kind of things. And obviously you do get the rapid reload to help you in those engagements. You see the French secondaries making their way to the target. It takes forever to get there. So yeah, a couple of things interesting to mention with that thing. You can put Au Buono in it and get 3 salvos of your rapid reload. So that's one thing, barely, but it's still pretty much feasible. We're going to do it right now. And once you manage to catch a ship out of position there, that is where that ship absolutely shines, and we delete one of the best protected battleships at tier 7 in a couple of seconds. So that is what the Picardie does. You really have to play it like a Normandy. choosing your battles, being relatively careful at the beginning of the game, making sure that you insert yourself into fights, just like what I'm doing now with the Atlantico. You notice that the damage at that range, yeah, especially against an Atlantico, it's completely useless, and I will actually switch to HE, because concretely, even if I manage to hit most of the shells, it's not dealing any damage. So that's kind of the limitations with the Picardie, and that's why you actually have a pretty good HE and fire chance. So if you are meeting Bismarcks and Atlantico on a regular basis, do not hesitate to use your HE from time to time. Another advantage, of course, when you have 16 guns and 12 and 10 secondaries, it's the Normandy/Lyon effect. You can absolutely trash anything that is stupid enough to YOLO you, because I don't care, I'm going to take a couple of torpedoes, but I do have the HP to get away with it, and he does not. So, what do we have now? We do have the Atlantico that is focusing on the Hawk, so that's a good opportunity for me. It's a 2 versus 1. I'm not going to, there you go, that's one fire there. I'm not going to charge him right away. I want to see how this unfolds, because the Hawk does not seem to be in a, it doesn't seem to be in a good position. It looks like the Atlantico just punished him with his secondaries, and even in a Hawk there is nothing you can do about it. So we're going to preparing ourselves to run away, because really that's the key thing with that ship. You have to use the mobility to get yourselves into favorable situations, but the mobility of the Normandy was actually incredible at tier 6. All the other battleships are going at around 20, 22, 23 knots, and you were flying at 30 with your engine accelerator. At tier 8, the mobility of the Picardie has absolutely nothing special, so it's still allowing me to get away from that Atlantico, because there is no way I'm going to engage that guy. I'm activating the engine accelerator, and I'm going to look for another battle, because it's not going very well for us. It's a 3 versus 5, 300 points down, and we've lost all the 3 bases, so that's probably one of the limitations and the main difference between that thing and, say, something like a Richelieu. Richelieu can get into a cap and actually stay there and be an absolute powerhouse, also tank CV attacks, and that thing absolutely not. So we do manage to pile a couple of shells on the Atlantico, 10 hits, and we only dealt 5,000 damage. So it's really not great against certain targets, so you really have to play it like a battle cruiser, picking its fight, choosing its target. And speaking about targets, the Edinburgh, it looks like it's turning into my direction. There is still a Benson on the enemy team, but versus our Cossack, I'm putting my money on the Cossack. And you notice, how I'm using the terrain to get into favorable positions. I know that I absolutely cannot tank that Vladivostok, so I'm going to get away behind the island there as quickly as I can, while it does not have the time to react. And I'm going to put myself in a position to be facing that Edinburgh. So it's a ship that really rewards positional play and good map awareness. It's certainly not going to be for everyone. Honestly, at tier 8, it's a very tricky playstyle to master, but the damage potential of that thing is real. I've had gameplays where I actually dealt more damage than this, but I chose this one because it was fairly representative of the playstyle and the fun factor of the thing, because once you get across at that range with your 16 guns, it does get a special treatment. So now again, looking at the minimap, we see the Vladivostok ignoring us and going for the CV, the Atlantico doing the same thing, and our CV behind the Atlantico going for the CV as well, so we can quietly farm and debrief the Picardie. So, it's not really a tier 8 Lyon, it looks like one, but it is much more accurate, and the damage potential of that thing is pretty high actually. High skill, high reward, high risk, high reward playstyle. Requires a lot of situational awareness, because your mobility, it's nothing special anymore. You cannot get away from tricky situations, and typically CVs are going to farm you if you are not careful with your initial positioning at the beginning of each battle. So is it fun? Absolutely. Can it be frustrating? Absolutely as well, but again, we should be honest here, it's just a meme ship, so it has advantages and disadvantages. You could call it the Jaeger of battleships at Tiret. We finally taken down by the enemy CV, and we have dealt 105k in that battle, so yeah. As I said, pretty interesting ship. Should you buy it? I personally won't. I already have the Richelieu. That's more than enough of what I need. I personally think that if you're simply looking for damage, Champagne is probably the more interesting one. It's a little bit easier to play as well, although it suffers from the same limitations. So there you go, that was my take on the Picardie. Hope you liked it, learned a couple of interesting things. Stay safe, take care, that was DFA signing out, bye bye.